Since 1998, I've enjoyed using trail cameras, and all along the way, you can imagine all the advancements. It was when we first went to an actual digital camera. It was just a huge jump up, but it take out batteries right away. And then the red infrared spooking deer. It's just been so much fun along the way, even with so much battery challenges and cameras breaking down along the way, or 35 millimeter film where you had 36 pictures and that was it, and they were burned out by a few branches blowing around in the wind back in '99. So many advancements along the way, and so much fun too, even with a lot of ups and downs, roller coaster of use. And I've used a lot of different trail cameras. We've settled into, in 2016, I started using the Census trail cameras, and it's been literally 5 seasons now that we've used those cameras. And I have used the Lift camera, the Lift 2, and I use those a lot on HD video. And then usually one picture, I set them on hybrid, and then I use the renders for the cell cameras. And I wanted to go back in 2020, and stay tuned at the end. You can look in the description for a special offer for Census trail cameras. They wanted to, celebrate 5 years of use with White Habitat Solutions and offer you guys a discount to the first 25 people. But they do have renders in stock right now, and they're sending them out within the next week. So it's a great time to get them. As soon as they come in, they go. So they have some reserved, I think the first 25 for our viewers, and that's a really good thing. I wanted to go through some of my favorite trail cam pulls of 2020. It's been a different year because we have the new property in Minnesota. We have the old property in Wisconsin that we've been using. And so between the two, there's been a huge emphasis on Minnesota and these new bucks. But and then, boy, when we start getting into Wisconsin and getting into hunting, my first thought was I should have started hunting in Wisconsin a couple weeks earlier than I did, because we had a lot more shooters and bucks that made it through last year than I thought. And it was pretty cool to see that collection of bucks. But here, I was just looking through here. Dylan and I pulled 6 trail cameras, and we have a lot of videos to shoot right now. We have a whole week of shooting videos, and we had a lot going on, but still, we went and pulled those 6 cards, and I came back to the house in the Kubota, and I told Dylan, I'm like, let's go look at these. And he's like, I thought you'd say that, but it's still, all these years later, it's like a kid at Christmas time. You can't wait to open these SD cards, let alone get those cell phone pictures all the time. And it is like opening a present every time. And this was a cool one right here. This is a buck we've seen several times over the last couple months, a lot actually. He's around quite a bit, and he's got a short, fat body. So I thought about calling him Fatty, and I get overruled quite a bit, but Dylan suggested Costanza. So here's Costanza. He's got a little split off the right G2, and this was a picture that we had, video that we just picked up. It's from January 21st, 8:55 in the morning. You can see him walk right in front of the camera. He was just off to the side. His antlers probably tripped the camera off. And then we get a great view of him just walking right across the screen. You can see his body's pretty big. I would say he's 4 right now. He's got some still chocolate antlers this time of the year. A lot of times he's traveling by himself. He's got a big old head on him, but you can bet he'll be a beautiful buck next year. So I think we'll be able to recognize him too. And as I'm going through here, I have a lot of favorite trail cam photos from right now. This is a pretty unique double beam buck that we have over in Wisconsin. And these are all my favorite buck videos and pictures that I collect throughout the year. I have a big list of them here. This buck is going to be an interesting one to follow. I don't know how huge you'll ever get, but we're hoping to see him age so that we can watch him and know what's going on. We have a predator video coming out, so of course, getting these collection of coyotes, and we have some really cool ones to show you at the end of this, but all a lot of fun throughout the season. But I wanted to go through some of these that are on my computer, but mostly we're going to refer back to some of these, and I'm just going to zip through some of these as I'm talking. The first trail cam that really stuck out at me this year was a video of Kermit that we had the end of June, where he just looked giant. It looked like he was going to grow to 200 inches or 190 inches. He grew to 170, so he was a really big buck. But his frame and size overall, when we first got video of him, was just crazy. And so that got us excited right off the bat. And then even going forward with Kermit, playing the cat and mouse game with him during the season, and getting into that end of October time where he had a pretty predetermined sit where we're hoping to see him. We got lucky and saw him, and I was able to shoot him. But we had a really good video the night before, or 2 nights before, where I sat in that stand that I shot him for just about 20 minutes, and the wind was bad. And I sat there for 20 minutes, and I just couldn't stand sitting there and have a chance at blowing it with Kermit, and on a chance that he might show up. He sure enough showed up right in front of the stand, and the way he came in from, I probably had a 50 chance I would have spooked him before he got there, and that would have ruined my hunt for him for a few weeks in that area. And so it really is, you have to make smart decisions, and I think it was best to get out of that stand and keep going. I'm looking at a buck right now that I have on video. He's a really nice 10-point. I actually have video of this buck in Wisconsin late season here. So he's one that I wouldn't mind seeing a lot closer from the tree stand. Negan was such a cool buck. We talked a lot about Negan going through. He's further down in these pictures because the last hard-horn picture we had him was end of September. And after that, he ended up getting shot towards the end of October, about 1.5 miles away, down in the valleys well below us. We feel like he was about 6 years old. The neighbor, or the previous owner, had pictures of him when he was in 2 years earlier. He disappeared for a while. And I think what happened is they get pictures of him in velvet, and then he was gone. He just liked falling in his fall range down in that lower area. We're trying to create a difference in the area right now. We're making changes on the property so that someday this is more of a fall range. And I think that happened this year initially. And we're going to strengthen that next year and continue to look at making this property a fall range as opposed to more summer. You know, number 3, Venti, was incredible. We thought he was 20 points, so I think it was Dylan that came up with the name Venti, and 21 points is what he actually has, so we call him Venti. And he had double drop tines, split brows, split G2s, extra points here and there. He's just a really cool buck. The cool thing is that the real estate agent, Chad, he had pictures of Venti from the year before, and he found his sheds. So really cool to experience this, you know, going backwards, and then the experience we had with him. And I don't know the exact date. It might have been January 21st, 23rd, but I have a cell cam picture of Venti walking by the camera. Of course, he made it through the season. We had pictures of him on December 31st, and then sometime in early January. And then we had the most recent picture of him. And he's a different buck. He's kind of spooky. I think he's more of a ghost. He doesn't like socializing. We don't see him with other deer. And I think he's just shy. And he seems to avoid the camera, but he always seems to be around. It's kind of like we wonder where he's at. And then we find some certain camera that has his picture on during daylight. And we know that he's around really close. So we can't wait to follow him throughout the off season. I hope he makes it well through the off season and healthy, and then I can't wait to see him grow during the summertime. He's going to be a cool one. We had a lot of bucks in Minnesota that we really liked. 7-4 Wally was shot by Diane. Blade, I shot him. The heavy 10, Dante shot the heavy 10. Dolly died on the neighbors. Eileen, we think one of our neighbors shot him. So we had a lot of bucks that we were following that were named bucks that died. And but 7-4 was one we think might have made it through. He's a huge one. I think one of the first videos we had of him, I think we had some on the middle, or on Diane's redneck plot, but we had one way in the back corner back here where he's walking away from the camera, going up a 2-track, up a little bit of a road, and he just looks huge. And he is a big buck, big 10 points. So pretty cool to see him around. Now, Iowa was one that wasn't like this giant, huge buck, but it had a big body and it had a decent rack on it. And most importantly, it was Diane's first bow buck with a vertical bow. So Iowa was a lot of excitement. Iowa reminded Dylan of a buck that was in Iowa that they knew last year. And so pretty cool to see the story. We had lots of video of him and pictures on Diane's redneck plot, her redneck, and then she was able to shoot him, so that was pretty awesome. Blade, I shot him back on our new food plot on 38 acres. A lot of our food plots are new, but shot him at the muzzle, with the muzzle over 250 yards, and he was a special buck because that was one that I was after late season. I was able to get a shot on him, but the cool thing was, before I saw him, I got a cell camera picture of him across the field, like 200 yards away on another small food plot. And he was pushing around there, looking around, and then sure enough, he came over and was able to shoot him. So that was pretty cool, just to have that connection. It was interesting because we called him different names, but in the end, he was all the same buck. We thought he was the heavy 10, blade. We had these different names, but it was depending if you're looking at him from above, his tines would look smaller. And so he was one that has been really enjoyable going through. Here's a picture right now, that one going by. I believe that one is Costanza again. And of course, we have some really cool pictures like this one right here, just a doe standing up, trying to get a little couple nibbles to eat under that red cedar. I don't know if she's going for berries or buds or what she's doing, but I'm always amazed at the balance they have just to stand up and hold that pose for a long time. You know, we have a lot of unique, interesting bucks. This is one that I was able to see just a few weeks ago. He's a buck that I passed up last year. Really nice 8-point. Really cool that he's still around. I'd love to see him in the rest of the season that we have. You just have a few days left. The big 9 in Wisconsin. We had lots of video pictures of him last year, and then of course this year too. And again, another one of those bucks you like to follow for a couple of years and enjoy the journey. And he was one of my true target bucks going into the season this year. Really enjoyed closing the deal on him, but at the same time, all those cell cam pictures that he gave along the way. We have some really good late season Wisconsin bucks. This is one of them, of course, right here, the wide 8. I passed up 3 times last year. He's still alive. We have some really good ones going back in these pictures quite a bit in the past, where we have one, it's called the Stickers buck. I believe the neighbor named him that. Here was my buck, the big 9, coming in. I wouldn't be surprised if Stickers is around here somewhere, but he's a huge buck that I'm really hoping to get a chance at here still in the coming season. But we had a lot of those big bucks in Wisconsin. He's got a double brow tine right here. He's got a sticker off the right G2. And he's just a massive, what I feel is a 5-year-old buck. I think he's the same buck that I passed up on October 14th. In fact, from right here, about 30 yards away. Pretty sure he's that same buck, but really nice 5-year-old buck. Again, pretty cool, big body. Big, heavy antlers, wide beams. I just love looking at these. Never gets old, especially when you know he's still alive and there's a chance you might see him in the woods. Now, we have a Wisconsin Census scrape. We did a census on this. Dylan, was it 2016 or 17? Okay, 17. We had a mock scrape Diane and I put out in 2014. We put a camera on there and we're trying to teach people to complete a census in October, November. What you collect in August, September means nothing, because your property where you hunt is going to be it's at a time of change. And so I call it a pivot point. August, September, your land's either going to get a lot better or a lot worse. It usually doesn't stay the same, because if you have summer bucks there, they usually leave. You could have fall bucks that are coming on. And so it's a time of influx in the whitetail woods, and certainly not a dependable time. Well, once again, having a camera in that location this year, we collected, I believe, a video or picture of just about every big buck in the area. There would be a couple that we missed that are staying more like a 1.5 away. But for the most part, we collected every big buck in front of that camera. We fill over 30 bucks in that one spot. And a big difference from putting corn out, a mineral block that received less use in October, November, is this is something that big bucks will hit during the daylight. They hit it often throughout the season, and every other buck that goes by will hit it too, along with does and fawns. So it becomes a frequent hangout for every deer in the neighborhood, and it's a very social spot. And that census scrape we have tells us what's going on within 1/2 mile to 3/4 mile to a mile, almost in every direction, with every different buck that comes in there. And again, in 2020, it just didn't disappoint, and that's why we have to trust the cameras we use and put on there, because we just can't afford to go a couple months without a camera like that telling us what's in the neighborhood. We can only, when I shot the big 9-point, I wouldn't change that card. It's a card we can't change unless we shoot a buck and we're going in there to retrieve it after dark or at dark. And so we did that, and we've had some really enjoyable footage from that this year. Finally, it's not all about whitetails. You know, we had some cool coyote pictures, some bird pictures. We've had hawks. I've had a bat frozen in time, you know, right in front. Real pretty birds flying by. Hawk or an owl back at the blade plot. Actually lit over here in the branch, and pretty cool. Just stuff like that. But when we pulled the cards today, we had 3 bobcats walking by. We've had bobcat pictures in the UP of Michigan. I had a bobcat walking by one time with a red squirrel in its mouth. But to have these 3 clearly coming on video back to the back of the scrape right there, right where I actually shot Kermit, and we have a lot of good memories of bucks this year, and trail cam pictures. It was pretty cool to see that, and we're going to get some more cool pictures before it's done. We keep getting pictures of some of these bucks. Right after the end of the season, we had a picture of the giant 8-point that we've used as an illustration in our videos compared to the 2-year-old he's next to. And it was really cool not only to see that he made it through the season, but that he was starting to get associated with our food plots and where deer are just hammering this time of year. So I want him to know there's food here now. There's a different game in town. And the trail cameras are letting us know about that buck, letting us get used to him, and a lot of other bucks and wildlife along the way. We trust Texas trail cameras. I hope you guys will check out the offer that they have going on right now. But bottom line, we'll do this again next year. But it was fun today with Dylan going over not only the 6 cards that we pulled today, the recent cell camera pictures, but just looking through these pictures and videos of different bucks that we've enjoyed hunting throughout the season, and knowing that they're still alive, being able to enjoy their footage. You guys probably do this too. You keep a favorite stash of videos in here. It's fun to go through. We keep some pictures of does along the way, but I love getting these pictures and getting a glimpse into their world. I can mention one more that comes to mind all of a sudden when I'm looking at this location. Is in this spot we had a really cool video of, I would say, 8 or 9 3 to 5-year-old bucks in that bachelor group, and so they were just kind of all hanging out and around and in back, and we'll end with that one. But that was a really cool one that we picked up this year. Hope you guys had some memorable 2020 trail cam pictures. We loved going through memory lane right now. Hope you have a great off season. We actually keep the cameras out to about April. We change the batteries in September, October. We expect them to last till that time. The render cell cams that have had the solar panel on them, they've lasted. They're still taking pictures in September, and we pull them out in April. We can't identify the bucks at that time. All the bucks have shed by early April. We still get some straggling in early April, but then we take them out. We put them back in the end of June when we get our mock scrapes going. And then it's game on all the way until this time and through April of 2022.
Now, as we transition into habitat season, I hope you've had a chance to check out my web class, How to Design Your Whitetail Parcel. It's on my website, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. I have a link in the description, and I hope you can find it, check it out, and enjoy it this year.